Avatar, the Lost Waterbender. A young Aang in this alternate timeline would have learned early on that he was meant to be the Avatar. And instead of running away, he would have stayed to enjoy the little time he had left at the Air Temple with Master Gyatso, before he would have needed to leave to go learn the other elements. And these couple of weeks, really having fun with his fellow airbenders made Aang the happiest he's ever been in his young life. He really didn't want to leave or fight, but he knew with the upcoming war, it was going to be his duty to. So he started packing up to go. But before he could even get the chance to say goodbye to Monk Gyatso, Sozin's comet roared through the skies and the Fire Nation attacked. And all firebenders began to lay siege to all 4 air temples hunting for the Avatar. And they were cruel, showing no hesitation or mercy to the air nomads, constantly questioning on each of their soon-to-be burned victims on who was the Avatar and where was their location. And unfortunately, before he could even see his beloved teacher again, this would lead towards Monk Gyatso being one of these silent victims. And with Aang horrifically gazing upon his corpse, this would make him snap, triggering his Avatar state, and unleashing it mercilessly on any firebender who dare cross his path. And by doing so, he was able to take out a large portion of firebenders who was attacking his respective temple, allowing for a large group of airbenders to be able to escape this siege and become survivors in this alternate timeline. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough, as Sozin's comet made the Fire Nation's forces too strong, and they eventually overwhelmed the young airbender, burning him to death. And with Aang's passing, word went out that Sozin slayed another Avatar and was already leaving on his quest to search for and slay the next one, which they knew was going to be born in the Water Tribe via the Avatar cycle. But regardless of that, Sozin would not live long enough to find them, as they would have been lost for 50 years in the spirit world. After Sozin's successful killing of the air nomad Avatar, he set his sights and his forces to go hunt down the new Avatar that would be born in the Water Tribes, knowing that if they killed enough Avatars, the Avatar cycle will have them be born again in the Fire Nation, cementing their rule over the world. So they attacked, again and again, at the borders and shores of both the Northern Water Tribe and the Southern one. They didn't care how many of their numbers were lost or how much of their resources were used up. As long as the Water Tribe's defenses were whittled down little by little, and they kidnapped and executed any waterbenders they found, it would eventually lead towards them finding and ending the new Avatar. So the brutal raids and sieges continued, with the full moon's power aiding the waterbenders in some nights. But for most nights, and especially during the day, they were on their own. Eventually, the Fire Nation got close to their goal, finding an infant hut that was being heavily protected. They figured the newly born Water Tribe Avatar had to be there, so they pressed through all the waterbenders that was defending it. But something miraculous happened once they came across the baby and was about to slay it. Somehow the baby manifested the spirit of Avatar Kurik, who summoned forth a tsunami wave to wash away all the Fire Nation invaders. And right after the Water Tribe was saved, a Knowledge Seeker dog appeared to spirit away the baby. And this Knowledge Seeker might have been the past companion of Avatar Kyoshi, aiding this new Avatar by passing him along to a dragon bird spirit who flew him from the human world to the spirit world, where he would be the safest from the Fire Nation's reach. And to watch over him in this new world as he grows up would be the I spirit, one of the other past spirit companions of the Avatar. It would appear that this new Avatar was born with a very powerful spiritual connection, which would allow for him to be raised in the spirit world without fear of creating dark spirits. And because of how time works strangely in the spirit world, regardless of 50 years passing in the human world, he would only grow up to be 12 years old. Realizing after speaking with his past lives that he can no longer stay in the spirit world, Avatar Nuktuk makes his journey back to the human world to learn the 4 elements to bring the world back into balance. It's been a week since Avatar Nuktuk left the spirit world to find bending masters. And within that week, he has seen many injustices done by the Fire Nation on the other nations, such as kidnapping benders from villages that weren't firebenders, or threatening said villages into paying taxes for their own forced-on protection. All the while seeing all of this and feeling terrible about it, knowing he can't do a thing to stop it until he learns how to at least bend one element. All of this until he finds himself in one of these villages being bullied by Fire Nation soldiers, and being no longer able to suffer the sight of these unfair and unjust acts. He decides to act, trying to utilize waterbending to save a poor family from having what little they have from being taken by Fire Nation soldiers, but instead fails, finding himself becoming one of their many prisoners. But before he and others get taken onto their ship, a weird old geezer begins taking off his raggedy clothes to show a strengthened, toned body. He then breaks his chains and begins fighting against the Fire Nation soldiers, showing off an impressive array of earth-bending techniques. And when one of the Fire Nation soldiers that are getting pummeled asks who the hell he is, he answers, saying he's beastly, unstoppable, mad, and invincible, while creating a giant earth pillar erupting out of the shore to break their ship in half. And he laughs madly while his personal guardsmen come straight out of the ground to start freeing all of the chained benders. And he rallies those benders into freeing the rest of the village, having a big celebratory feast right after everyone is saved, where he notices Nuktuk from the corner of his eyes and wonder why he looks so familiar, quickly realizing that this is his old buddy Aang reincarnated. After realizing that Nuktuk was the new avatar and the reincarnation of his old buddy Aang, he gave Nuktuk the tour of his grand old city Omashu, which was way ahead of its time when it came to servicing and protecting its people, and that its doors were open to anyone seeking asylum from the Fire Nation's growing tyranny. He also revealed how he recently became king of Omashu by proving himself to be one of their wisest and strongest earthbenders, and how he in the recent couple of years kept Omashu from being conquered while also doing outside missions where he goes to other lesser equipped towns and villages, keeping them from being fully invaded from Fire Nation tyranny. But unfortunately, that's not slowing the Fire Nation down as their conquered territories keep increasing in numbers. And once they found out that the new avatar was being kept in Omashu, they decided to focus their forces there. And once their immense numbers managed to breach the city for the first time, it triggered Nuktuk, who summoned forth the spirit of Avatar Kyoshi, to start launching the stone-made houses with earthbending at the Fire Nation soldiers, which drove them off for a little bit, but Bumi quickly realized that this was just a lucky break, and that Nuktuk wouldn't truly be an effective avatar unless he at least learned earthbending. So he decides to dedicate the next couple of weeks into teaching Nuktuk earthbending, while his guards and soldiers keep out the increasing number of Fire Nation invaders. And luckily, Nuktuk took quick to earthbending, impressing even Bumi in some points. But he quickly became frustrated with him being born from the water tribe and not even knowing how to waterbend, wondering and asking Bumi where he could find a waterbender teacher, when both a curious and mysterious passerby hears these talks and gains a mischievous idea, quickly going to Nuktuk and passing him a map on where he can find a powerful waterbender teacher, and before she could even explain, elegantly somersaults away. Little do they know, though, is that this powerful waterbender teacher has recently been imprisoned by the Fire Nation. Either way, Nuktuk and Bumi are now determined to find this person to have them teach Nuktuk waterbending.
With packing their supplies, Avatar Nuktuk and King Bumi get the last of their things ready to head off on their journey to the Southern Water Tribe. That is until the mysterious girl from before pops up again, somersaulting in front of them. And apparently being chased by Omashu guards, when she stops moving for a moment, they use their earthbending to seal her hands and feet within rock to keep her from moving. To which King Bumi does not take kindly to that, utilizing his earthbending to free her, which prompts Nuktuk to ask why she's even being chased, which she responds with them confusing her with a Fire Nation spy just because she likes to wear the clothing of the nation she was born from, even if she doesn't agree with their ideals. And Nuktuk and Bumi looks at each other, then at her, not really knowing if they can trust her yet. but asks another question as to how she even knows there's a master waterbender in the Southern Water Tribe right now that could teach Nuktuk how to waterbend. And she responds to that by saying before she got to Omashu, she traveled the world, and when she was near the Southern Water Tribe, she heard tell of a fierce waterbender that was the primary reason that the Fire Nation forces were being held off. And she figured from overhearing their conversation from the other day, who better to train the new avatar in these new dire times than this abundantly strong waterbender? And Nuktuk and Bumi agreed, with this strengthening their resolve to head out, only to be stopped by the pleas of this mysterious girl wanting to join them on their journey. For which they can't help but laugh because she doesn't seem to be a bender and they don't want to be distracted if she finds herself in trouble. Which causes her to get extremely agitated from the disrespect of them thinking her weak, causing her to leap into action as she immediately starts to take down all the Omashu guards in the area with chi blocking. Telling a shocked and awed Bumi and Nuktuk after doing so that her name is Kitten, and that she isn't dead weight, more the opposite, she's light on her feet.